Pastors are always so impatient. There you go, now there's noise.
The invocation, please.
Join with me in prayer, if you will. Again, our Father, for another day, we offer our thanks for blessing our lives. We thank you for this great community. We thank you as well for the leadership. We're so very grateful for the dedication of these men and women. We thank you that we have the opportunity to just enjoy all the amenities. Thank you for a safe Fourth. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate our nation's birth. Thank you for the dedicated men and women who serve this country. And for all of these things, we give our thanks. May you bless the council tonight as they meet, as they give direction, and as they give insight. Pray for your blessing on those decisions, and that all of us as a city would truly know that we are blessed. We would pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, Jim Randall, you want to do the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Stephanie, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Aaronkrantz.
Here.
Councilmember Green.
Here.
Councilmember Haggerty. Mayor Pro Tem Warren. Mayor Bonner.
Here. Okay, the approval of the council agenda. We need to pull item 10.2, having to do with landscaping. We need to change the title of 7.5 to approve the 2017 agency and committee assignments and appointments as presented. And from the agenda that was given public, it didn't have the comments for the city manager and the council to make their comments at the end, so we added that to the agenda. So with that said, there's a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. You know, one thing when you're the mayor, there's two things you can do. You can affect the agenda and you can run the meeting. So I'm going to do both. One of the things we're able to do every year at the end of the mayor time, we give the plaque for appreciation of the work that they've done. So I'm having a plaque here on behalf of the city council and the staff, and to give to Dawn Haggerty and to Gable, as long as you promise not to hit me in the head. And thank her for serving as the mayor in 2017. Thank you both.
I have a question on the agenda. Am I missing it, or is the Lejoie presentation not on there? Did I miss it?
It's under business.
Oh, okay, okay, that's why I wasn't looking down far enough. But didn't you?
10.1.
I'm sorry, what?
It's 10.1.
Didn't you have a meeting you have to go to after this? No. Or is that, okay. So you're okay, we have you all night, all right.
Okay, next is the introduction of the new executive director, Neil Trent, with the Animal Friends of the Valley. And Neil, we'd like just to give us some comments about your background and what your thinks of the future of Animal Friends of the Valley is.
Thank you, Mayor Bonner and the City Council. Bad news is I'm a Brit, and I relocated from Washington, D.C. Got a little steamy for me up there, so I've come down to a bug-free environment. So a little bit about myself. Thank you for the invitation. I'm only 3 weeks into the job, so I have no idea what's going on at the moment. But I'm hopefully a quick study. I have spent over 30 years, truth be told, it's getting closer to 40, in animal protection. I trained as an animal control officer with the Royal SPCA in London in the UK. I was a chief inspector there. I trained other officers. I then went to the Royal SPCA in Australia. I was a training officer, national training officer for the RSPCA in Australia, training animal control officers. I worked for the World Society for the Protection of Animals, where I was a regional director of North and Latin America. And then I joined the Humane Society of the United States, and I was the first executive director of the Humane Society International. And for 10 years, we did a lot of outreach in developing countries, trying to improve the lives of animals in various countries, with the obvious challenges of the fact that nobody had any money, basically. So that's my history. I have run shelters in Marin County, in north of San Francisco, and in Colorado. And then the last stop was 6 years in Animal Welfare League of Arlington in Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. So I guess I have quite a history, and I'm hoping to bring some of those experiences to this environment, this area. I'm going to now turn over so I can talk to these people, this side. I like to spread the wealth. I have a really weird sense of humor, you should know. And it's not necessarily unique, but it's probably British as well. So we're all in for a ride, right? But what I want to do with Animal Friends of the Valley, I want to take it to the next step. I want to bring in new programs. I want to develop new infrastructure, new support for communities, outreach programs. I want to help more of the low-income communities with low-cost programs to help sterilize animals. It's a numbers game. You may know that July, the 4th weekend, we took in 240 dogs at the shelter, all lost, basically because they were scared or frightened because of fireworks. So we spent 3 solid days trying to reunite animals and dogs, and there's a little left over at the moment, but I think they're owners rather than dogs, so we're in a good shape. So I'm hopeful to work with, we have 6 cities that we serve in the Valleys area. Canyon Lake is very close to us, and it's beautiful. I haven't done the scenic tour yet, but it's on my agenda, very high on my agenda. And I hope to outreach, and hope you see more of me at meetings. I'm always available to talk about what we can do better. And my goal is to essentially save more lives at the shelter. And for that, we need to reach out to the community and get support. So thank you for the invitation, Mayor Bonner, to come tonight and talk. I'm excited about this opportunity. I've still got a few miles in the tank, and hopefully the experience to make it look like I'm busy, but actually won't be. So thank you all very much. I appreciate the opportunity tonight.
Thank you.
If I can just say, you're very welcome. He's very modest in his presentation of his abilities, but we have a lot of faith in him. He comes highly recommended, and he's already gained a lot of the confidence of the staff, which is especially when his first job is to evaluate the staff. It's never a fun thing, but they seem to like him anyway. So I think we have great things coming with Animal Friends, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is Taylor here? Okay.
Great. Yep, sure enough. All right. Great. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. My name is Taylor Leibolt, and I am the Director of Municipal Development for Energy Efficient Equity, which is an administrator of the California Municipal Finance Authority PACE program. It wouldn't be local government if there weren't 17 acronyms in the first sentence. So really, I'm here to talk to you about our program with the hope that we can come and offer our PACE program to your residents. PACE programs, it stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, and it's a statewide model for financing clean energy, renewable energy, and water efficiency throughout California, both in residential projects and commercial as well. And it's been very popular in California. California has been kind of the model for the country for this financing mechanism. And we seek as a provider to provide competition to this industry that has been pretty much dominated by one or two big programs. So what PACE does and what we do is we offer financing for homeowners who, for example, want to replace their HVAC system that just went out and don't have or don't want to put the money up front and would like to defer that cost over time while they save money on their efficient, high quality unit. We also finance new windows and doors, solar panels, new roof, anything that improves the water efficiency, promotes renewable energy, even seismic repairs as well. So it's just been a tool for bringing these improvements and trying to make it more accessible to homeowners. I'll just have a few things. The CMFA is the JPA that sponsors the program. They are really reputable JPA located in Southern California. Have financed, I think, over $10 billion by now, for definitely over $9 billion in public benefit projects. And we're happy to partner with them. In 2015 is when they started getting into PACE. And then one unique feature of our program over others is our Give Back program. So 50% of the issuance fees of this program go back to the community. 25% would go to the general fund and 25% to local charity. And this is a small amount in a residential project. The fee to the homeowner is not high. So, but you're looking at, it's definitely a unique feature, and in commercial projects, it's a percentage of the overall project. So through this program, through the other grant projects, there's over $10 million has been given back to local communities while keeping the fees, competitive with other programs. And then I just want to talk about consumer protections in the industry. You might already be familiar with PACE, but these are two pieces of legislation that are very recent. One was just approved in the last legislative session that standardized the disclosures in the PACE industry. So all the borrowers and the lenders have standard disclosure language that mimics truth in lending forms and really brought transparency to the industry. And then the other one is SB 242, and that's currently being considered by the House. It was approved by the Senate already this year, and that will do what my program and other programs are already doing, but it would make it standard. It would add income requirements and just add some more consumer protections to the industry. But again, the programs themselves have already integrated these consumer protections, but this would just provide an extra safeguard for homeowners. And really the way that the state set it up, they gave local control to communities to approve the providers that come into their city and offer this financing. So that's why I'm here today, is to tell you about our program. We would love to add another financing source to your homeowners to make these, really important improvements, help meet, your climate goals, and just be a partner in any way we can. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on Councilmember? Jordan.
Can you tell me, excuse me, how this differs from the HERO program?
It is a competitor. So we've come into the market a couple years later than they did, which gives us some more flexibility. We were able to lower our interest rates and provide additional consumer protections. But again, we work closely with the HERO program in getting into the communities and to promote PACE as a model. So it's just another option, kind of like another gas station, providing another option.
Did you say that seismic restraints is going to be approved now?
It has been, yes. We can do seismic retrofits, mostly on commercial projects.
I was going to ask, has there been any of that done anywhere?
It's been slow, but we see it really picking up in areas where there's been mandatory retrofit ordinances, like in Los Angeles and other places. So because LA's the mandatory, there haven't quite been mandated to, they haven't reached their deadline. We're not seeing it as much, but we're definitely seeing it pick up, the interest in the program on the commercial side.
So is this for earthquake protection?
Exactly, yeah. So a lot of
Okay.
soft story retrofits, you know, on multifamily housing, just making buildings more secure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Your PACE program, how would the recipient pay it back? Is it go on
Yeah.
the tax base?
It does, it does. It's a voluntary tax assessment.
Okay, and-
So they would pay it back as a line item on their property tax bill.
And what would be the length of time?
It varies from 5 to 30 years,
Okay.
and the length depends on how long the length of the useful life of the improvement.
Okay.
So if you have a solar panel guaranteed for 20 years, we can finance up to 20 years.
Thank you.
Of course, a great question.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was a very good presentation.
Well, I was happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, Jim Randall, he's president of the chamber. You're next.
Got nothing? Got nothing to say.
Actually, being the summertime, we don't have a whole lot to report on. I do want to say that our golf tournament, even though we were down players, we were still able to donate $1,500 to junior golf, which is going on this week. We were down 24, I believe it was 24 or 26 players from last year.
Right.
And so we have to look at scheduling. But next two items coming up are the Oktoberfest and Parade of Frights. And I didn't realize it till we're working on something today that Parade of Frights has been going on in this city for almost 25 years, our 25 years, I
Right.
guess. So anyhow, that's really about all we have going on, and everyone keep cool this summer.
Okay.
Hey, Jim, in your golf tournament,
Yes.
look at the format.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, Larry, we're actually changing it. Uh-huh.
Since Jim brought up the weather, I should tell you, I kind of made a command decision with the approval of the council members that I can't see in June through September wearing ties and coats. So we're going to be business casual until October. Okay, public comments. Stephanie, could you read that, please?
Any person wishing to address the city council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city, whether or not it appears on this agenda, is asked to complete a speaker request form available on the back counter. The completed form is to be submitted to the city clerk prior to the individual being heard by the city council. The council has adopted a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you are commenting on an agenda item, your comments will be heard at the time that particular item is scheduled on the agenda. Please note, if you're addressing the council on items not on the agenda, the Brown Act does not allow discussion of such items. Therefore, the city council may only do the following: refer the matter to staff, ask for additional information, or request a report back, or give very limited factual response.
Okay, the first is Travis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I appear before you tonight as president of the Fine Arts Guild to invite you and all of our citizens to a free Fleetwood Mac tribute concert on August the 5th at Holiday Harbor. It's going to be a fun end of the summer season. The Fine Arts Guild, along with the Junior Women's Club and Family Matters Club, will kick it off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the upper level of the park. Thunder, the mascot of the Lake Elsinore Storm, will be there. We're going to have music, vendor booths, a bounce house, games, crafts, a snack bar selling hot dogs, pizza, chicken, sandwiches, beer and wine, nachos, and all kinds of things. So it's a fun afternoon starting at 4 o'clock on the upper level. And then at 8 o'clock will be the Fleetwood Mac tribute concert on the amphitheater area, pretty much the area where a lot of folks go for the movies. You can sit on beach towels or on beach-type chairs, but no fold-up chairs and no blankets. So we're going to get as many people in there as we can. That's August the 5th, Saturday night, and hope you'll all come out and take advantage of this free concert. Thank you very much.
Travis, thank you for the comments. Appreciate that. Okay, next, Richard, I hope I say this right, Seams? Did I say that correct, or Symes?
did.
Okay.
You're one in a row. It's unusual. Usually it's called Symes.
Oh.
And the way I get people to remember how to say it is I say it's spelled like it seems like it would be Symes. I want to tell you a little bit about the Regional Homeless Alliance and ask you to investigate it and ask you to join it. The Regional Homeless Alliance is a group of local municipalities and nonprofit organizations and other public and private services that are trying to remediate the homeless situation in our valley. There are 5 current municipal members: Lake Elsinore, Menifee, Murrieta, Temecula, and Wildemar. What municipality is missing? Canyon Lake. It is led by 3, I would say, distinguished leaders. One is Robin Gilliland, who's from Temecula, and she is the Community Services Supervisor for the City of Temecula. Another is Assistant to the City Manager of Murrieta, Brian Ambrose. And the third overall leader is Steve Falk, who is the chair of the Riverside County Board of Governance for the Community of Care. And if you aren't aware of what that is, that's HUD's mandated organization to dispense HUD funds to anybody who requests them. The reason that I'm asking you to consider it is that homelessness is a very complicated issue, and if anybody tells you that they understand it and can remediate it, they're already wrong. If any city tells you they don't have homeless, they're already wrong. We do. I can't tell you how many, I can't tell you where, but there are people in the city that can. So my concern is that the other 5 cities are all working together. They're coordinating their ordinances, they're coordinating their compliance, and to the point that we become more and more vulnerable if we don't join and if we don't comply. We have homeless now, we'll have more homeless later if we're not a part of this organization. I bring a couple pieces of paper. One basically has the information on it I just gave you with contact phone numbers. It also has the mission statement for the Regional Homeless Alliance. Another is a copy of an article from the Press Enterprise from October of last year, which is really kind of a nice, though somewhat outdated article about who they are and what they're doing. Once again, I just simply request that you investigate it and that we join it and work in concert with them. May I approach and give these to somebody?
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate the information. I'm just kind of curious. You said there like 4 other cities is already involved, 5?
5.
Did we get some information? Is this the first time I've heard about it?
Actually, I'm not certain, but I believe that the previous city manager received something over a year ago.
Yeah, one must have been, because he's been here since March, was a year. Almost a year and a half now.
I'm not certain. I'm not the one that sent it. I'm not one of the 3 names on the list, but I am told that there was something sent, and I think it was just an email, so it wasn't anything very formal.
Okay, well, I think it's, we'll have more discussions about it. Thank you for the
And
presentation.
if you like, after I can give you my information and I can connect you with them.
Sure, that would be great.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I did attend actually it was a Southwest Cities, that the city of Temecula presented their homeless program combined with the others. They've got 2 SOs that are assigned to that program full-time. They went to the city of Anaheim to look at their homeless situation, and they're developing a template so that we get an accurate count, and those are the things that they need to do to work with the homeless. So in our region, we seem to be the only one, but we're the smallest too.
Thank you.
Okay, the last speaker is Nancy Horton. And probably the only person I don't have to announce her because she's so well-known in this community. She's been involved with water for well over a decade. She's been involved in very different aspects of water. And today she's obviously she's a citizen of Canyon Lake, but she's also the District 1 a representative for the Water District. So thank you, Nancy, and we're looking forward to hearing your comments.
Thank you, Mayor Bonner. I'm here representing Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District. You all who would have received your water quality report in the last week or so. This comes out every year. It is a complete summary of the drinking water information that is required by law. It used to be a document that was about half this size, and I defied anybody to actually read the numbers because they were so tiny it was impossible. So 2 years ago, I asked them to do something different, and they did, and everything is legible, and it's really worth reading about the safety of the drinking water and information from the EPA. And I was just asked tonight by a resident, what rebates do we have? And I really couldn't answer the question, but here it is right in the folder on page 10. We still have free water conservation devices like shower heads, timers, toilet leak dye tablets, hose nozzles. We still have a pool cover rebate program, $50. We still have free sprinkler nozzles, up to 25 nozzles free. We have a free drip irrigation conservation rebate program. That means 25 cents per square foot up to 2,000 square feet. That's to replace your irrigation line with drip irrigation. We have weather-based irrigation controllers up to $200. We have MP rotator sprinkler nozzles, $2 a nozzle. We have rain barrels, $75 a nozzle, and actually I think you can buy them in Home Depot for $75, so it's practically free. We still have premium high-efficiency toilets, $40 rebate. High-efficiency washing machines, $150, and soil moisture sensors, $80. So if you go on the website and just go to conservation or rebates, you will find that information. And if you haven't received your water quality report, call the Water District and they'll mail it out to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, consent calendar. Stephanie?
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the city council, a council member may request that an item be removed for further discussion. Staff recommends approval of all items.
Okay, is there anybody want to pull one?
Yes, under 7.3 on page 27, check number 23163. I'm sorry I didn't find out what that was for. I was going to come to the finance meeting, but I missed it. Could somebody tell me, please? 23163. Residential hazard abatement case. I'm not familiar with that.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Looks like Mike is going to answer.
Oh, Mike, go ahead. I'm sorry. Because we asked the same question at
There
finance.
There was an abatement case back in 2015 that,
2015?
correct, that city council had approved code enforcement to move forward with. So it was something that was overlooked, and we brought it to their attention, and they took care of it.
You brought it to whose attention?
To code enforcement to get it, to abate it and move forward with it, with the case.
So this was the cost to have the work done?
Yes, but the plan is to recoup that cost through the tax assessments, the liens. So that's kind of what we do.
So this is a property that was sitting since 2015?
Probably even longer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is anybody wants to pull?
Randy, I just have a comment on page 51. Okay, just as a clarification, it says, if you go down to the 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph, it, just as a clarification, says that we're talking about the exhaust system for the fire station. It just says it was not necessary. Actually, that should have been, it wasn't going to be put in the budget because we're seeking a grant, but it eventually will be in the fire station. So that's the only thing I had to ask.
So that's just for clarification?
Just for clarification.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It needs to be a roll call vote, and
Oh, yes, sir.
so I can clarify, are we not pulling the check any longer?
No.
Or are we still pulling the check that you questioned?
He just wanted clarification.
Okay. So, Councilmember Aaron Krantz?
Yes.
Councilmember Green?
Yes.
Councilmember Haggerty? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Warren?
Yes.
And Mayor Bonner.
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Okay, schedule of future events, it's on the agenda. If anybody has any questions. We can also go to the city website. In the Friday flyer, you'll see some of these scheduled as well. So we try to get that information out as much as we can. Okay, now we're into business items, presented by Mark Norton, who's Mr. Leswell.
Mr. Lejeune.
Leswell.
Or Mr. DMDL.
Just like that here. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Mark Norton. I serve with the Santa Ana Watershed Project Authority as a Water Resource and Planning Manager there. Another part of my role and responsibility is to serve as the Authority Administrator for a separate Joint Powers Authority called the Lake Elsinore and San Jacinto Watersheds Authority. I'm here tonight at the request of the Lejeune Board. Vicki Warren sits on the Lejeune Board. They basically have want to bring to your attention a desire that to consider an increase in contribution to Lejeune. It's been about 15 years since we've had any changes to the rate, and so I'll start off first and give you a little background about the organization and maybe describe some of the benefits as well to the city as we consider this request. We were formed back in 2000 because of a water bond that was passed by the state of California, Proposition 13 water bond. Had language in there that actually formed this organization. At the time, the big focus for the organization was really on Lake Elsinore. It was the Lake Elsinore and San Jacinto River watershed. It was deemed that it was appropriate, though, that the city of Canyon Lake, being an upstream water body and all waters flowing through Canyon Lake from the watershed go into Lake Elsinore, that they should be a part of this JPA, and that's how they became a part of this. It is a watershed organization. It is shown here a 720 square mile watershed, and it looks like I pushed a button. That made it go away. Maybe too many. There we go. I'm going to be clicking instead of swiping. Anyway, I'll talk at the same time. It's a 720 square mile area, and we take in pretty much the area that goes from Lake Hemet all the way through the cities of Hemet and San Jacinto, Paris, Moreno Valley, even portions of Beaumont are actually part of that watershed. All that drainage from that watershed flows into Canyon Lake under rainstorm events and then into eventually Lake Elsinore when Canyon Lake overflows. There is a lot of challenges associated with runoff. Runoff carries a lot of nutrients, and we are seeking to address the accumulation of those nutrients that are negatively impacting Lake Elsinore and Canyon Lake. Let me click on here. Hitting return, does that help? Just try the arrow? Okay, I'm trying the arrow here. We'll get that. Try there. Real quickly, I won't get much detail on the Lake Elsinore projects, but nevertheless, as part of that call out for the creation of this organization, they provide $15 million. And over the next 15 years, we really focused on improvements for the watershed as well as lake, primarily for the lake of Lake Elsinore. Included a list of all those projects as indicated there. But there was one specific project, besides a lot of studies and monitoring that were spent on both lakes. We did have a project that removed about 20,000 cubic yards of sediment from Canyon Lake. Though it sounds pretty substantial, we knew that you needed actually far more than that. Unfortunately, due to some legal challenges by the state on prevailing wages, the POA, which was the partner in this, decided to close that project down. The activities back in 2010 continued, and then at that time it was deemed that it was appropriate maybe to relook at the original mission. The Prop 13 water bond funding was going away. So we reevaluated the mission and basically made a change so that Canyon Lake was considered on equal footing as Lake Elsinore. The monies, the effort, the time, and energies would be focused on not just Lake Elsinore, but Canyon Lake. So that was really a mission change for Lejeune. And this occurred back in April of 2010. Since then, actually a great deal of work has been focusing on Canyon Lake. We've been applying alum, which is aluminum sulfate, to Canyon Lake. It is a very common practice for improvement of lakes across the country. It is basically to filter out the nutrients and sequester them to the bottom of the lake. And by doing that, you won't have as many algae blooms, and clarity should improve, and basically you have a healthier lake. We apply this alum twice a year. Initially, it was a trial period. We worked it out with the Regional Water Quality Control Board. We had a 5 dosing event type of calendar for 2.5 years, and we applied this alum in the fall and in the spring. Here's pictures from the alum. Every year I do come out and talk to the POA and the city about what we're about to do to give the public an opportunity to be aware that we're going to be engaged in this activity. We do take every effort to make sure that it is done in a very safe fashion, that it does not harm the ecosystem, that the public is safe, and it's always in dosages that are considered safe by all the federal and state regulatory bodies. Besides the broadcast that you saw on the previous slide of the liquid itself behind the boat, we also do subsurface around the coves. We make a real special effort to try to keep people fully informed. We, in fact, have a GPS monitoring station on each of our boats so that people can see when it's coming by. So on to the benefits. Having a local governance for these lakes and this watershed, I think, is something that the parties who are involved, particularly with the TMDL compliance, and the TMDL compliance includes over 20 agencies besides the city of Canyon Lake. It includes all the cities in that upper watershed. I mentioned quite a few of them, as well as the agricultural operators, even some state and federal entities who have responsibility to control the nutrients. They feel that whenever they have a contract and having a governance that of the JPA of Lejeune is very convenient because they know what is going on. We have mutual goals with the task force. We're the contracting and financial entity for efforts. The consultants' contracts and monitoring contracts all come through us. We're the implementing agency for the lake improvements. In addition, we were able to secure a grant for $500,000 that really reduced the cost of that alum for those roughly 3 years. It's been a real benefit. And for the future, the task force will be covering the costs. We really try to minimize and try to get the very best bid we can for the alum application. And so all the 20 agencies are in essence paying for that now that the grant has been fully expended. It's not to say we can't go after future grants, and when they become available, we'll continue to do that. And that's one of our roles. We also have a very positive relationship with the Regional Water Quality Control Board. They are at all our meetings, not the Lejeune Board meetings, but in the TMDL task force meetings. The TMDL, again, is a regulation. It requires us to meet certain goals for Canyon Lake and Lake Elsinore. They're considered impaired water bodies, and we've been working on those. When Prop 13 water bond was fully expended, or was approaching that time, back in 2010, a business plan was put together by Lejeune. we were looking out into the future, and we realized that we were pretty fortunate. Under this water bond, we were able to cover the cost to operate the agency. And that's pretty unheard of, pretty unusual. For 15 years, that water bond was there to help operate Lejua. And we looked out in the future and realized that, if we don't have some changes here, it's going to be, we'll run into a real problem here where expenses to operate the organization simply outweighed the amount of revenue. Now, the revenue that we had established in the very early days was really, in essence, seed money. It was seed money in that the five agencies, in order to kick off Lejua, all agreed to contribute $10,000. There wasn't really any magic formula that they came up with. It was, in essence, just to get it kicked off until the grant monies started flowing. So again, we were able to proceed in that fashion, and the business plan laid out the fact that we really needed to do something. And one of the things that was suggested is we do need to increase the contributions from those member agencies. So in 2015, we brought this back to the five agencies and indicated that based on the business plan, we really needed to do something. We had a presentation that we gave to these agencies and also the respective agencies. As indicated here, there was one even that was not even a party to our task force, to our JPA, and that's the Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District. They're not a member of our JPA, but they felt that this organization is so important, particularly for the TMDL compliance, that they're willing to put money in. So in 2015, June of 2015, they agreed that they would be contributing $20,000 to Lejua to maintain it, to operate it. The city of Lake Elsinore, Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, and the county also agreed to increase their contribution, in fact, to double it from $10,000 to $20,000. So ever since 2015, in essence, for the past 3 years, they've been contributing at these increased levels. The two entities that have not were SAPA and Canyon Lake. SAPA, we're a regional agency. We're sort of detached. We're there sort of to help out, not really a local entity that's really helping or actually benefiting from this effort. So a request is being made at this time to ask that an increase be requested from the city of Canyon Lake. This is something the Lejua board, as part of our budget, said we'll approve this budget, but we do request again that Canyon Lake take a look at their finances and potentially increase their contribution from the $10,000 to $20,000, and that would create a total budget revenue of $120,000. And so why increase the share? Things are changing. As you might have all remember, the state got real interested in harmful algae blooms, the toxicity issue, the blue-green algae. This is something we responded to, and in fact, the TMDL task force is now helping to pay the costs associated with the monitoring necessary for toxicity. They're working that into the current monitoring program, but more can be done. And so, what would that additional money be used for? Potentially it could help out with additional monitoring. Canyon Lake alum applications, I think overall a benefit that we've been seeing, a lot of focus has really been on Canyon Lake, and all these task force agencies are helping out. So it'd be, I think, in a sense of fairness and equity, good for a show by the city that they're willing to pay their fair share as well. Local governments has indicated one of the reasons why the Riverside County Flood Control District is putting in their $20,000 in every year is because they believe that a local government body like the JPA, this Lejua, is necessary. Finally, we haven't seen an increase from the city or the other agencies until 2015 for 15 years. And I think that's pretty remarkable that we were able to do that, but also I think it's a reflection of the fact that we were able to use that grant money to operate the organization. So the original contribution, as mentioned before, was just the seed contribution, and so we're from our business plan, we really do need that additional funding. So there's my final slide, just looking out into the future. We will be continuing the alum application in Canyon Lake. It'll still be a major focus of what we do. We'll continue to provide those applications in February and September. We'll do the pre and post monitoring. Our results that we report to the regional board show that it's working. This is not to say that you'll never have an algae bloom, but on a gradual basis is less frequent and less severe. And I think that's a very positive sign, particularly for the East Bay area. We will continue to explore further grant funding opportunities. We are also there and continue to be there to respond to any algae toxicity issues and to help with being a spokesman on that behalf. And also when you have contracting, we can help support that as well if you want and desire to do additional toxicity testing. So these, I think, are overall benefits, and we'd like to request your support for an increase to support LEJWA for this coming fiscal year. Be happy to answer any questions.
Something you want to say?
I have a couple things, but I need to clarify. I'm on the board, so tonight we're not voting for the increase, correct? That'll go against the next.
Yes, that's correct. You're not voting on the increase.
Okay, so I can ask it anything I want and I can add anything I want, right? I can't campaign for you when we do. Okay, so one thing I would like to point out is that this board, I obviously I sit on the LEJWA board. It's a very fiscally responsible board. I watch the numbers, I read the reports, I see what they're doing, and there are a lot of committees that we all sit on. This one doesn't pay a stipend. They voted not to because they voted to put their money elsewhere and not pay the people that are putting their time in on these committees. And to me, that means a lot. And anybody who lives on the East Bay has seen a tremendous improvement, but more than that, anybody walking in the waters near the parks, anybody out in the outside has seen what these treatments can do. The fear of what would happen if we weren't, I'll ask that question. What would happen if there were no contributions to LEJWA, if LEJWA goes away?
Well, you could have potentially the state trying to run this as the entity, and it's not preferred. I think other states have seen that where the regional board uses more of a stick approach than a collaborative approach, and I don't think that would be preferred. I think having that local voice is valuable, and again, that partnership that we've been able to gain through LEJWA and the regional board, I think, is invaluable. One of the benefits of the recent alum application, that trial period, is they actually said, we're willing to hold the requirement on monitoring for 2.5 years so that you can put that money into the alum. And that is unheard of, to say, okay, stop monitoring for a little bit. And I think it's because of that relationship we had.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. Through the TDML, you do about every other month you do testing. If in case a situation arised that we needed to close the lake, by increasing it from 10,000 to 20,000, would that cover additional testing that needed to be done to reopen the lake?
Well, right now, the decision to close a lake is certainly your choice. The state doesn't mandate that you close it.
Right, I understand.
The additional testing, right now what we're proposing is an increase, but it's not defined for a specific purpose. The $10,000 is not for specifically to pay for unexpected toxicity testing that you might have. It could, if the LEJWA board agreed that makes sense, and they would probably want to see it done not just at Canyon Lake, but at Lake Elsinore if they're experiencing the same thing. Last time that happened, Lake Elsinore was even more drastically impacted than Canyon Lake. That is actually something that the LEJWA board really felt that it should be something the LEJWA board should be doing. But why are we not doing more of that types of testing? And it's because of funding. We don't have sufficient funds. So I would say it could be, and it's likely could be that extra additional revenue could help in that respect. It would be, though, a decision of the LEJWA board.
I just want to tell you, Mark, it would make easier for me to make that decision if I knew that would be included.
Yeah, I understand.
Is there possible in the next 30 days you could come back and let us know if that would be a possibility?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not my call. It is the LEJWA board's call.
Yeah,
on
but you're
any
on the board,
revenue.
right?
I am the administrator.
Oh, the administrator,
Yeah,
okay.
and so I can make recommendations, but again, I can't guarantee it. This is not a,
No, I understand.
yeah, if you want to limit it to that purpose, we can certainly bring that back. I mean, if that it is something that you prefer to do, but I would like to suggest, though, that flexibility is pretty valuable. If there is, say, another issue, let's just say that you had a fish kill, for example, and there was a lot of costs associated with that fish kill cleanup. Those monies perhaps could be used for that. Maybe there's an unusual type of algae that hits a cove, and maybe it's something that the leisure board feels like that should be where the money's, having that flexibility and not having it defined for a specific purpose, I think is preferred, and that's what I would recommend, is that you keep it assigned to a specific purpose, but giving that to the leisure board. I'm sure if you have a major issue that, Vicky as a spokesman could bring that back, and of course, staff will look into it and provide our recommendations as well.
I've always been impressed with your presentation, and this organization does an incredibly good job.
Well,
So
thank you.
there's no doubt about that. It's like any city, we're just looking at finance all the time,
Sure,
but
yeah.
you're doing the same thing. And as I said, it'd make it a little easier, but I'll let Vicki make that decision.
Well, we haven't even decided that we're going to be responsible for testing yet, so we'll go a step at a time. But I have one other question I meant to ask.
Okay.
Can non-government agencies become members of LEJWA?
Under the Joint Powers Authority law, we looked into that. At one time, there was consideration of what if all the TMDL parties could be on that board. And this was a request actually by the supervisor. Non-public agencies cannot be on a JPA board. For example, the Western Riverside Agricultural Coalition, we had thought about them, and they're a 501c3, and so it's not possible.
It would take a lobbying, wouldn't it, to get the mixture of
It would take a
the...
change to the legislature
Yeah.
that allows who can be on a
Okay.
JPA.
Okay.
Well, Vicki, the reason on my notes
I have a
says
question.
possible motion, but I don't see any reason for a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Doubling that fee is a lot of money.
It is.
Canyon Lake is a very small community, and we have a very minimal tax base that cannot be increased. Doubling the fee, are they looking at our being assessed that much or asked to pay that much based on the fact that we benefit significantly more than some of the other areas? Is that what the selling point would be to us?
That's one of the many selling points I did bring up. There are costs that go up, and reality is that if you look at any of your responsibilities for operation and maintenance, these costs continue to rise. It's just the way things are, and we haven't requested any increase for 15 years. So I think I think we've done everything we can, and at the request of the Legislative Board, to really tighten our belt. I've really tried to control costs as well. It's one of my responsibilities to live within a budget, and every year I do. But it's getting more and more difficult. And if you don't account for increased costs, then eventually you're going to run into a train wreck. And you won't be able to do the ordinary functions. Part of what we do as a Joint Powers Authority, we have responsibilities for insurance and auditing and compliance with the law. And we have staff support in running the meetings. It's not a lot of money overall. We're able to function as far as the staff level at less than $80,000 a year for all the things that we do in addressing the watershed, both lakes. And so I think your return on investment and the benefits particularly for the Canyon Lake at this stage, far outweigh your contributions. It is it's like you have a golden egg and you weren't really aware that you had the golden egg, but it was there, and you really want to preserve that. It is we really see value here at the lake, in both lakes, and we really want to continue that process. We've had some task force agencies really complain. I mean, some particularly far away from the upper watershed. I mean, there's been some claim like, that's a private lake. Why should I be doing anything? I can't get access to that lake. Why my citizens can't go into Canyon Lake? And they have an issue with that. But in the end, it's the regional board that says, well, too bad, you're still releasing nutrients and you're responsible for it. But it would help swallow a bitter pill, I think, if Canyon Lake did what they could do. And I think in line with the other local agencies to show an increase, I think we go a long way.
Do you have access to any government grants or funds other than what's paid for by the members of the joint powers?
We do what we can do to help offset the costs. It is a real challenge to cover costs for operation and maintenance or running an organization with grants. It's pretty unheard of. However, if there is a grant that comes along that could help pay for projects, more of those costs can reduce the overall budget costs, and maybe some of those savings can go back into helping to reduce the cost for operation and maintenance of the Joint Powers Authority. What we're asking really for is a way to be able to maintain that organization, to help sustain it for the future.
Well, in part of the council, if there's any more questions, fine, but I'd like.
I have one question.
Yeah, let's not.
It's going to be very short.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation.
My pleasure.
Not that short, though.
Okay.
Okay, you got a business model. Have you done projections on increases? I know you want us to increase to 20,000. Is there future projected increases for the rest of the members in the future, and we would be one of them?
Right now, our projection goes out about 5 years. I think would be good for the next 5 years with this level. If we'll continue to update the business plan about that term, and as we look out into the future, if we see a need for an increase, we may come back at that time.
Okay, Vicki.
Anybody else? I do have a couple things. You want to talk about collateral pluses, perks, I guess. One is, and I'll talk a little bit more about the leaches. Had a question on leaches, and they were right there for me with the information that I needed. But more than that, last year at that awful moment, 4:30 on a Friday, when we were faced with this entity nobody'd ever heard of, nobody knew who they were, suddenly saying that our levels in our lake were so high we couldn't be on it and we had to decide what to do. It was this task force that came through for Canyon Lake. I made a few desperate phone calls, and I know I sounded as panicked as I was. And the reason that we did not go through what Lake Elsinore went through was because of how quickly they reacted on our behalf because of where we sit. So I know I can't campaign when it comes aboard in front of all of you, but I can tell you now, we wouldn't have been in as good a shape as we were if we weren't in such good standing with this particular entity.
Okay, thank you for the presentation.
Okay, my
It was
pleasure.
very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's no need for a motion.
No, we just have to decide if we're going forward.
Right, so I guess what staff's looking for, do we need to bring this back
We
as
should bring it
as a
to-
budget amendment and bring it back for any further discussion? I know you've made the point of
We should bring it back
tying
in
possible
August.
testing to it. Do you want to wait until you have an opportunity to the board?
Two different issues there, so I would feel fine with waiting until the next meeting to approve whether we're going to go forward.
So would you like to see this back at the August 2nd meeting? Okay, well, staff will bring this back with a budget amendment for the 10,000 at that time.
Are you talking about is there another budget?
No.
meeting?
No, it would be an amendment to it. Mark, can you be available in case there's questions?
But Aaron, let me make sure. We'll bring it back to the August 1st,
August
regular, August 2nd, regular council meeting.
Correct, for approval.
Okay.
With the budget amendment to take the 10,000 out of reserves and to put it into this account.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, the next is, thank you, Mark. The next is the amendment to the city's solid waste collection. Karen, you're going to introduce it?
No, that one got pulled.
I'm sorry?
10.2.
10.2 got pulled.
It got pulled.
So this here is a fourth amendment to the franchise agreement between the City of Canyon Lake and CR&R.
Karen?
Yes.
Can you get a little closer?
You still can't hear? There you go. This is a fourth amendment to the franchise agreement between the City of Canyon Lake and CR&R. We're asking you to adopt the urgency ordinance, which is attached number 172, which updates and revises the solid waste chapter of the City Municipal Code. We'll need a four-fifths vote on that, and we're also introducing and holding the first reading of ordinance 173 to revise and update the solid waste chapter of the city's municipal code.
You got-
And you'll see that the red line is attached, both of them, to your materials.
Okay,
Mine are.
is there any questions?
The red line.
Mine are.
I do have one question
Oh, okay.
Who?
Okay.
on the ordinance, just for clarification. Penalties for violations. It's in the ordinance, it's the last item, 6.01.210. Violations of the chapter shall be punishable as an infraction in accordance with the Canyon Lake Municipal Code. Where is that codified? What are we talking about? Is that a physical fine,
What number did you say?
It's at the end of the ordinance,
Oh,
and it
okay.
says penalties for violation.
On page.
The last page is .210 in the ordinance.
Yeah, .210, yes it is.
So that one should be in the municipal code under the nuisances.
Okay, it's a nuisance. Okay, that's all I want. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other? Is there any other questions? Okay, let's see. So that's.
I do
covers
have a question.
10.3. All right, the next. I'm sorry.
They said that they would provide buckets for garbage waste that could be picked up. Have they done anything specific about where those will be picked up? How big are they? Ah, there we go.
Oh, he can answer that.
I think David can answer that.
That's why he's here.
Didn't bring a bucket, we should have asked.
I didn't bring one. I apologize. David Farian, president of CR&R. Yeah, we will in our educational material as we begin to get ready to roll the program out. We'll basically make those available to the residents, and we can do that a number of ways. One, what we would normally do on a Saturday is set up a designated location where residents can pick them up somewhere convenient. We'll typically do that a couple Saturdays in advance of the program starting. So we definitely will make those available.
I would strongly suggest that when you get your informational materials together, that you contact the Friday Flyer and see if they would print some of that information up for people.
Great idea. We'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Okay, so 10.3.1 is to approve the Fourth Amendment to the franchise agreement between the City of Canyon Lake and CNR Incorporated. Is there a motion?
All of it's roll call.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Any comments, questions? Let's see, do I need a roll call on that?
Yep.
Councilmember Aaron Krantz.
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Councilmember Haggerty.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Warren.
Yes.
and Mayor Bonner.
Yes.
Motion approved 5-0.
Okay, then we're to 10.3.2, adopt emergency ordinance 172. And maybe, Stephanie, you could just read it, please?
Yeah. Urgency ordinance number 172 is an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake revising certain provisions of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code, Chapter 6.01, integrated waste management pertaining to the changes in state law affecting solid, recyclable, and organic waste collection and diversion as necessary for preserving public peace, health, and safety.
Okay, is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call again, please.
Councilmember Aaronkrantz?
Yes.
Councilmember Green?
Yes.
Councilmember Haggerty?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Warren?
Yes.
And Mayor Bonner.
Yes.
Motion approved 5-0.
Okay, now we're at 10.3.3. Hold a first reading and introduce ordinance 173. And again, would you read it, please?
Ordinance number 173 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake revising certain provisions of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code, Chapter 6.01, integrated waste management pertaining to the changes in state law affecting solid, recyclable, and organic waste collection and diversion.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Any
Councilmember.
comments?
Oh,
Comments?
sorry.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, you want a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aaronkrantz?
Yes.
Councilmember Green?
Yes.
Councilmember Haggerty? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Warren? Yes. Mayor Bonner.
Yes.
Motion approved 5-0.
Okay, we're moving right along. Our 10.4, League of California Cities Annual Conference for the voting the delegate, and it's usually the mayor and the mayor pro tem as the alternate. You're not? Okay.
Okay.
So we need an alternate then.
All right, so we need to, well, I'm going to be there for sure, so I'll be the primary. We need an alternate. Anyone want to step up to be the alternate?
I don't mind.
Okay, Jordan, you're always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's let Jordan be the alternate.
We can have up to 2 if so choose.
I'll be an alternate.
Okay.
Don, are you going to be able to go to that conference? No?
If you're going, we don't even need an alternate, but
Okay, well, so we need a motion for the mayor and Jordan as the alternate.
Jordan and Larry.
Oh, Larry?
Yeah, we can have up to 2 alternates.
I already had him.
I know you did. You can have 2. It's okay. You can have 2.
Oh.
I'm not trying to take it. No. I'm not trying to take it away.
Okay. All right.
Do we need to make a motion?
Can we have a motion?
I make a motion that we have the mayor and the 2 listed councilmen as the alternates.
Second?
I don't think we need,
All
all in
in
favor, aye? Aye.
I,
Do you have to
No
do roll
money
call?
being spent.
No.
so.
Motion approved 5-0.
Okay, now we're at 10.5, a discussion of the possible direction by the council to return City Hall to full operating hours Monday through Friday. And Aaron, do you have a,
Yeah, this was brought to staff by Mayor Pro Tem Warren, and so we thought we'd get her thoughts on it and have the council discussion whether or not, which way they'd like to go.
okay?
Okay, my thoughts kind of go back to the same situation I talked to, service to the citizens of the city. I have had a couple complaints. They've been mostly just griping that I try to get something done on a Friday and the doors are closed. If it doesn't make a huge financial change, I don't see that it does, to the city itself to just reopen our doors on Friday. I would like to see that. I think it would help our staffing levels. I think we were looking to increase the code enforcement aspect. So one of our staff members is now doing a couple jobs at the same time. that means that she's going to be doing less of the one job that we need her to be doing in the office, and I believe increasing this day will help balance that back out. I also think we strongly need to start proving to our citizens that we are there for them, and I think that being open 5 working days a week will go a long ways to do that.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Vicki, something particularly, excuse me. Was there something that we were lacking particularly that the citizens wanted to, is the building department going to be open 5 days a week? And is there a cost to the city for increasing? I'm just curious. I mean, I've heard people that were completely satisfied with the arrangement, and I've heard others that weren't. So I'm just wondering specifically what you heard, or what Aaron's heard.
And that I have Charles Abbott looking at to see if there is a cost increase regarding our contract with them, having additional, our counter hours now for building and safety are 8 to 12 Monday through Thursday, and then now doing that also 8 to 12 on Friday. So they're looking at to see if there's any additional cost or if we need to rework our contract to include now 5 days a week.
I would really be hesitant in having to have them there on Friday. Monday through Thursday, there's 4 days. Yeah.
I crunched the numbers on the cost, just employee-wise and utilities and that sort of thing, and it would be somewhere around 8,000 without Abbott, that it would be an additional cost per year for us.
That's
8,000 for the year?
right. But I don't know about salaries. I don't know that salaries would increase. The salaries didn't decrease when we went down to 4 days.
Well, they're working, it would be 2 extra hours each.
It would be 2 extra hours
extra
for
hours
the 2 hourly employees.
Okay, so they,
Because
okay.
it's currently, that's 38 hours a week.
Oh, I see.
And so that
Okay,
would.
so it'd be 40.
It'd be 40 hours, you're 5/8, so you're looking at 8 to 5.
Okay.
And so they would each, so that would be 104 hours per employee for the year.
It's about 4,700 additional for that, and then utilities would be right around 3,000.
So
Yeah.
now you're about 11,000 then?
No, it's still
75.
at the 8,000 a year.
76,
Oh, I see.
not counting Abbott.
Okay.
But I think the main reason people, if anybody's complained, is it's probably Abbott. It's probably the building people.
I don't know. I hear people want to come in for contact.
Really?
Contact meaning information. I can tell you most jurisdictions that I'm familiar with that went on a reduced hour schedule have gone back to a 5-day-a-week. The schedule, they've got a scheduling issue, but they have at least someone to be able to take the information or answer the question. Or answer a phone, because when you have a 3-day closure, there are a lot of people that only have so many days to come in. And so the other thing I would say, if that is not, if I don't know, I was going to say do a survey and find out if, in fact, the community is interested, and I mean not just the citizens, the business community too, and see what kind of response we get, if we really are headed that way. But I don't know. I do think it's positive.
There's been a lot of talk, especially recently with the budget, that tasks aren't getting completed, that we've had to have overtime of employees in order to complete tasks. I know it goes into a bank for comp time, but it's overtime. I thought it would just take that off a little bit, and I thought we should look at coming back to that so that we are a more full-service community again. I think it would help in the preparation of the agenda. I think it would. We seem to always get a call on a Thursday. Somebody's got to come in and sign checks on a Thursday. Well, it's not always easy to get 2 people to come down on a Thursday, but nobody's open on Friday, so we have to get there on a Thursday. So maybe that's just a planning thing that could change a little bit, but I would just like to see it looked at. I'd like to find out what our cost increase would be. Find out if I haven't had anybody complain about the planning department, so I don't know that we would have to have that department also open on Friday. So it hasn't been that. It's been mostly, like I say, I've tried calling City Hall and I can't reach them. Well, it's always been on a Friday that they've tried to call. And so why are we closed on a Friday? Well, I don't know. Other cities who reduced that while we were having the recession and having such an economic crisis have now gone back to full time. But if there's somebody who would like to look at that and confirm other city operating hours, I'm just throwing it out there because I think it's a good idea as a full-service city.
Travis?
Travis Montgomery. I recall back when we went to 4 days a week, there was a 20% reduction in salary, which meant there was a 20% reduction in our PERS costs and other benefit costs that went to the employees. We reduced the salary of the city manager significantly at that time because it went from 40 hours a week to 32 hours a week. Just sitting here, I don't know how you can look at increasing an employee's workload by 20% without calculating a 20% increase in salary for each and every individual, which I just have to think off the top of my head is more than $8,000 a year. I would guess that the retirement benefits would be more than that. But if you're going to look at increasing 20% of time, well, I think you really have to look at the salary and benefits packages and everything, because it's 20% increase is a lot. I don't know how you would not do that, and that's exactly what was done before, and for exactly that reason, to reduce our city costs by 20%.
Travis, our offices are open from, was it 7:30 to 5:30?
No, 8 to 5.
We're open 8 to 5, but staff is here from 7:30.
Staff is here.
From 7:30
So
to
it would
5:30.
only be an additional 2 hours for each of the two staff.
Right.
So it's not 20%. That's why my number was lower. But I don't know if that included PERS and benefits.
No.
Was that
No,
was
that
just
was-
hourly?
Could you
So
explain
they're-
that again, how it's going to be?
The girls are working just 2 hours less than 40 hours. They're working 38 hours a
Okay,
week.
all right.
So it would, if we opened on
You're
Friday.
going to reduce the daily
we would
hours?
reduce the time that they are here.
Correct.
And just add 2 hours to each of them
So you're
per
going to
week.
cut back on hours Monday through Thursday and add those hours to Friday?
No, we're not cutting back operating hours, we're cutting back attendance hours.
Well,
They
but
only
an
lost 2
employee,
hours a week.
an
Right.
employee who works
38 hours now will now work 48 hours if this goes in.
40
hours.
40 hours. So they'll work less each day than they
Correct.
currently are.
Yes.
So
And
you'll
work
have
an
less
extra
staff
day.
at some points in there.
And
Okay.
there would be an increased cost to what I quoted because of PERS. There would be that
well,
additional 2-hour cost.
If you're just talking 2 hours, but I wasn't aware that we were, and that didn't really come out in the conversation.
Yeah, I
So,
should have mentioned that.
But
So,
And
so-
I
so
sort
what you're
of-
saying, I'm sorry, you're saying now that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I my first thought was, we're finally in the black, and now Lejeune wants to double the cost. We've got other cost increases, and I just kind of hate to start spending the money too fast. I think staying the way we are, I haven't heard of any significant complaints, so I just may not have been talking to the right people, but for now, it seems to me like it would be good to just stay with what we have.
So, Don, they come in now from 7:30 to 5:30?
Yep.
So that's another hour, and so that's 4 hours right there, so then they add another 2 hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're working 38.
7:30 to 5:30 is 10 hours a day, correct?
I'm sorry?
They're working 38 hours a week.
Okay. I'm just going by what you're saying, 10:30 to 5:30, or 7:30 to 5:30 is 10 hours.
There's a half an hour lunch in there.
Okay, 9.5, okay, all right, okay, that makes 38, okay.
So now, Travis, they would work from 8 to 5, not 7:30 to 5:30.
Okay.
Okay. Jack, I didn't think it was possible to go a meeting without you coming up.
And there it's not.
I almost, no, I got it. I didn't think it was possible.
Well, anyway, I kind of question going to 5 days. I don't think that we have that many people that really gain anything. Any money that you can save, and right now you don't have an idea of how much you're going to cost, really, because you haven't checked into the retirement and so on like that. And that affects considerable sum of money that I would rather see you take that money and stay where you are with the 4 days and give the money to Leisure.
Put it back in reserves.
It's more important that Leisure gets that money than somebody that happens to want the Friday because it's convenient for them. And I doubt that we have many people. I mean, I realize Friday's closed. I don't even bother to come down and ask a question because I know you're not open. And we're a small city, and there's a lot of small cities do that. They run 4 days. So I don't know. I would just like to see you save every penny you can because we don't have a lot of money to work with.
Jack, we're pretty aware of that.
And, that
We're
would
pretty aware
almost
of that.
pay Leisure.
Well, I still think you're talking about spending more money and opening on Friday, and I don't think you need it.
Well, let me make a suggestion for the council. This is a discussion. Let's take 30 days. And Aaron, maybe you can get with Terry Shea and get the numbers.
More detailed numbers.
More detailed number.
So-
And then bring it up, here's what I was thinking. Bring it up at the next finance committee meeting. And then based on that, we'll get a recommendation from the finance to the full council.
Okay, so we'll bring it to the admin and finance on August 1st, and then based on your recommendation, we'll bring it back to the meeting in September.
Right.
Okay.
No, you couldn't do the next day?
We could.
No, I'd like to do it the next day.
Okay, because you said 30 days, we got 3
Oh, I'm
weeks. So
sorry.
if you want it in the August meeting, not a problem.
That's right, it's not exactly 30 days. is it?
Right. So if you want them both addressed in August.
Well, what is it, council? You
Is the council fine with that? We bring it back in August?
And then at the finance, we can say, no, we need some additional, or we could put it on the agenda.
And pull it if you want,
We
if
can
you
pull it.
feel you need more research or more discussion or whatever.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So we'll make sure it comes to you. We'll put it on both agendas. At admin and finance, you guys will determine whether or not we're going to pull it from the council meeting in August.
Right.
In that, can we also include, we're talking about 2 hours of straight time that we would be adding to the employees.
Right.
When they accrue overtime because they've had to work, is it 1.5 or is it straight time?
Overtime's time and a half.
Okay, so I would like to see a comparison of how much overtime is being put in our 4-hour work week and see if that time and a half makes up for the 2 hours that we would be having of straight time.
Okay.
So there's no motion needed, to discussion. But I think
No,
that
this
was
is
good
part of the
discussion.
research that we need to do with staff, so.
Yeah. Okay, now we're at 11, public hearing. Approve, what?
Overtime, you're talking about time and a half?
Yes.
I missed what you were.
Oh, okay, what I mean is. So we have an employee that is right now working 38 hours a week and having to put in time and a half overtime continually every week. I don't know, that's what I'm trying to find out. But I'm saying is right now we are paying time and a half for employees. It goes into a bank of comp time, doesn't matter. It's still coming out the same way. I would like to find out how much of that, because now we'll add 2 hours to that employee's time, straight time versus 2 hours of time and a half.
Instead of 3 hours being paid,
Right.
they'd only be paid 2
Right.
hours and work.
So do you understand, that's my concern. I keep hearing that we have so much overtime being banked. This is what I'm trying to find solutions for. Okay.
Anything over 8 hours
Yeah, because it's a law.
exceeds 8 hours.
Jack, we got 30 days to think about this.
3 weeks.
Stay with 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, that's not overtime. You don't get overtime for that.
All right, we're going to the public hearing, and I'm going to open it, and for the approval of resolution number 2017-08. And Stephanie, could you read that, please?
It's public hearing to approve resolution 2017-08, increasing and setting solid waste collection rates for the 2017-2018 fiscal year and providing for collection of residential services on the property tax roll.
By the way, I'll open it at 7:56. Okay, Aaron, you want to introduce?
We did. Well, we had David Ferry on here from CR&R, and apparently he's
I know,
left.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, and actually, we wanted him for the last item. So, I think as most of you are aware, this is one the annual CPI increase based on the letter attached. What was it? Right. It's the contractual increase based on their CPI, which they've given us in the letter that's in there. The big addition in there is the anaerobic digester, and I think everybody's been now except Jordan.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
In person.
Okay, so the anaerobic digester, as you've all seen, they said the diversion rates are going to really change come 2020. This new facility, which they got about $10 million in grants. They've used 3 different technologies, and merged them all together. If you got to go see it, Jordan. It's pretty awesome to see. It's great what they've done. But as Alex has probably told you and he's told me, in 2020, when these diversion rates change, we don't know what the cost would be to enter into their program to get in for the more diversion waste. Right now, we don't have to divert the kitchen waste to organics yet, but that's coming. And so this $1.95 per residential green waste can is to buy into that program now. If in 3 or 4 years, it could be, as he said, just a ballpark. It could be $5 or $6 a can, and then it goes up from there. Here, by buying in now, and this would be phase 1. I think is just about full. Phase 2 is should be coming online. I think in the next month. And by getting in now, we get the cost savings from the grants and those initial savings. And so that $1.95 there now is only, then the increases on the green can now are just CPI. So let's just say it's 5% a year. After that, $2, 5%, it's a dime a year for 5 years. Well, come year 3, we're paying say we opt in and it's $5 a can. Well, then it's 5% on top of that. Then it's a quarter a can every year after that. So by opting in now and taking advantage of all their grant financing, we're locking in a much lower rate to our citizens.
Yeah, we talked about this last
Yeah.
month.
Mhm. Yeah, can I
And there was an article in the Press Enterprise this morning.
Yeah, and the other thing is that at the tour, they indicated, and here, both, there is no guarantee if we delay getting on board with them, that in 3 or 4 years,
We could
even get on board because they're filling up with cities. So right now, we get on the ground floor, we're assured a spot.
Right.
So, and in 2020, if we can't get a spot, we have to do something with that
Even though
waste.
there are waste hauler, if they don't have space, then they have to find some other way to do it, and then we'll have to, we'll have those costs. Here, like they said, they're as you know, they're planning 4 phases. They've built 2. They said, I believe their largest largest contract right now is LA City, because they're bringing it in because they're trying to. So obviously, yeah, LA City. I mean, that could fill up probably 2 phases on its own. Just 4 million people, right? So they've told, and they've probably told you all this too. So phases 3 and 4 are based on contract signings. So once as they get more, that's when they'll start getting financing to start phases 3 and 4.
Okay, so I think we've got through the questions to the staff by the city council. Testimony by proponents? Sounds. Testimony of opponents. Rebuttal of proponents. Announced the time public was closed at 8 o'clock. And is any further discussion by the city council? So let's have a roll call.
Can I get a motion and second to approve the
Oh,
resolution?
motion is second.
Second.
Who had made the motion, I'm sorry?
Don made the motion,
Larry, I second it.
Okay.
Councilmember Aaron Krantz?
Yes.
Councilmember Green?
Yes.
Councilmember Haggerty?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Warren? And Mayor Bonner.
Yes.
Motion approved 5-0.
Okay, city manager, do you have any comments?
Yes, as the council's aware, and hopefully the citizens are aware, as of 8 o'clock on Monday, July 3rd, the fire station was operational. 24/7, we've had coverage since then. We have a two-person engine company there now with a paramedic, 24/7. And we're having a re-grand opening of the station this Saturday. We'll invite the public out, and we're going to have it from 9 to 11. It'll be an open house. Mayor and council will have a few words, and we'll have some breakfast foods. I know I apparently donuts is a 4-letter word to the mayor, so he didn't hear me say that. So some donuts and some juice and some water and a small cake. So and then we'll have an open house. It's from 9 to 11 at the fire station 60 this Saturday the 15th. Will our sign be in place? I don't think so. It doesn't look like that. We didn't get a good bid to install it today.
Mike?
You have an
Mike,
up-
did
you have
get
an update on the sign, Mike?
Did you get the representative from Melissa's office?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
'Cause you
I
called
think
me too.
Caitlin Blackmer will be here. As far as the sign goes, we got a proposed quote of about $2,900 to install it. We said, no, the crew is going to try to see what they can do. They believe that they can probably figure out a way to do it a lot less cheaper, so they may have it up, they may not.
Is the
Don't know.
sign, Mike, the similar sign like we had?
No, it's different. It's different.
Did Riverside County make it for us?
They did.
They did, okay,
yeah.
so okay, got it, thank you.
Yeah, it's there in the station right now. It's sitting in the bay. It looks different than what the one we had before.
So we could actually set it on the pedestal for the photo,
Well-
for the photo op.
Yes, we could find a way to display it.
There
Yes.
you go.
Yes, absolutely.
We
I mean,
will do that. If we
somebody
cannot,
can be holding one side,
Yes.
the other person can be holding the other
And
side.
I can guarantee you volunteers if you need them. I absolutely could guarantee help getting that.
Well, they're going to see what they can do and try to figure out a way that they can get it up. But
If not, we'll have people stand there.
well, as
Yeah.
Councilmember Green can attest, firemen usually have more than one job, and probably those guys there at the station are very savvy at that type of
and
work.
that's what they're doing. So.
Okay, we're going to the committee and council reports, and can I respectfully ask to keep it under 3 minutes, please? It's been a long day.
I can't, I can't do that. Last month, I didn't have any reports. I have about 40 pages of reports to give tonight. Can I buy my time from last month?
Can you do it in 3 minutes?
No. I'll make it real quick. I had, it was a long month, so I went to SCAG on 2 different times this month. I went to WRCOG twice this month. I went to RTCC for Dawn, and it was the shortest meeting on record supposedly. It was just a couple of budget items, and off I went. I had a water meeting with Vicki, and I'm sure she will elaborate on that because I'm not going to. Just a couple of quick things about SCAG. Things, backfire might be the proper choice of words right now. We have a rebound effect on the expected decline in the cost of driving caused by increasing vehicle efficiency, more miles per gallon, increase in electric and hydrogen vehicles, declining gasoline prices are all resulting in increased driving, which is backfiring because the greenhouse gases are now back where they were with, there's more people on the road. So,
Taxes,
pardon me?
less tax.
Oh, okay. And I won't go into the rest of that particular, but hang on, I've got more. Things to reduce air pollution. near high-volume roadways. And they're going to put in roundabouts that'll reduce stop-and-go driving and hard acceleration, supposedly. Traffic signal management, reduce stop-and-go driving. It may reduce localized pollutant concentrations up to 50%. Speed limit reductions on high-speed roadways. Per mile emission rates and fuel consumption are minimized in the optimal average speed range of 35 to 55 miles per hour. Ventilation along street corridors. And this one's a little hard to describe, but this has a lot to do with building and the way the buildings are constructed, and they create corridors along the highways, which helps the ventilation for this greenhouse gas. Solid barriers such as sound walls. Vegetation can alter pollutant transport and dispersion. And I'm going to skip some of this because I know that you want to hear my vector report, but not yet. You know how they get those teases on whatever it is. Where'd it go? I have it here somewhere. And I have my hero report, and I'm sorry if I baited that young lady, but I'm familiar.
I figured you would.
Pardon me?
I figured you would.
Well, I did. I'm sorry. But she handled it okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. As soon as I find vector, I will conclude because we don't have that large audience. I knew we do. Well, we do at home. They're on TV. You know, hopefully we're on TV. I've got a great article about caterpillars. Here it is. Okay, the rest of it I won't talk about, but this is researchers find caterpillars that can chew and break down plastic. And this is pretty important, really. Since plastic was invented, figuring out how to get rid of the stuff quickly without further harming the environment has been a puzzle. This week's researchers found one likely but possible solution: caterpillars. Specifically, a type of caterpillar called a Galleria melanola, easy for me to say, or waxworm, which has been found to be able to break down common plastic material, according to a study published yesterday in the Current Biology Journal. The waxworms turn into greater wax moth or honeycomb moth, which often eat honeycombs by breaking down the wax structure. I won't read it all because I know that it's getting a little boring already, but it says the researchers used plastic bags made from polyethylene, a common plastic substance. According to the study, they found that with a common shopping bag made of polyethylene, the insects were able to eat their way through after approximately 40 minutes. It took 14 hours for 100 caterpillars to break down about 13% of the bag, according to the study. The insects were able to break down the PE, down to an organic compound called ethylene glycol. Now, this is pretty interesting. Well, I'll wrap it up because it's, did I exceed my 3 minutes? One last comment. After the 4th of July evening, I went by the fire station to check to see how things were in Canyon Lake, and had the pleasure of meeting the firefighter, paramedic. I think his name was Brian Chase, at least that's what I wrote down, and the firefighter engineer, Darren, and I don't remember what his last name was, but had a nice conversation with him. But the most exciting thing that they told me was that Captain Carter was coming back to Station 60, and that's probably the best thing that can happen to Canyon Lake and Station 60. And I thank you for the time. That's the end of my report.
Okay, Councilmember Green.
And information is all here for those who want.
This is harder for him to be less than 3 minutes.
No, this is going to be quick. We had a very lively admin, finance, and planning meeting, and so because of some things that have come out, we have actually scheduled a special meeting, which will take place on the 20th of July at 10, I believe. And it will be referencing one item that's been pulled off the agenda, which is the landscaping and landscaping contract, as well as Charles Abbott's part of your demands. And we're going to ask some questions about different things that we're asking for as far as what we're paying for, because the fees are getting up there pretty good, and we're wanting to know what we're paying for and what things we may be able to start looking at to change. So with that, I'm done.
Very good. Councilmember Hagerty.
I had surgery the 1st of June and have been recovering from that. I did attend an RTA budget meeting. They are doing incredibly well, and the junior program, the 25-cent bus ride, is enormously successful. It seems to me like they said they had something like 52,000 riders since they started it, and it of course, it doesn't impact the income or the fare, because they're fares that they probably wouldn't get anyway. So although ridership is down because of the 25-cent, the fares are slightly higher. And what they figure is that it's an investment in the future, because these kids are riding to the beach with surfboards. They had to get bigger buses because the kids are lined up in Temecula at the shopping center there. 2 or 3 of them with big surfboards that they had to figure out how to get on the buses. And they're hoping that they realize that riding buses is really kind of a neat way to go, and they're hoping that that'll develop future customers. So that's it.
I agree with that. That agency is, they're incredibly good. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Warren.
Okay, just 2 things. Mentioned briefly before was the 241 animals scared ended up at the shelter over the 4th of July weekend. That was over a span of several days. But, excuse me, microchipping is the way to really alleviate that. We do have a $5 microchipping charge. I'll start pushing to have them come out more. It actually costs the shelter $20 to microchip, so the shelter is eating $15 of that. It gets, and that's been the most successful way of getting the animals back where they belong. You can take them just about anywhere. If we could find a way, excuse me, if we could find a way to get a reader, a chip reader at the gate where we have the animal pens that we keep them temporarily, then they wouldn't even have to go. They would just go right back, a phone call be made. So, but that has to be through the POA. So we're working on that. But that was one thing. Also, I wanted to mention, I mentioned briefly leeches. I asked about leeches, if it was somehow related to the clarity of our water. Vaguely, yes. In a roundabout way, it is. We have had, I don't know if it's been an increase or just more people aware of them, we have a freshwater lake. We're going to have a biodiversity. We're going to have these creatures in here. They feed the ducks, they feed the fish. It's great for our bass. And I know, it's a terrible thing, but it's on the upside, it's great for our lake. It's a really good sign that we are coming out of our impaired status, and that's what we all need, and that's what will keep us from paying these huge fines at the end. On the bad news, yeah, we probably do have a few more critters than we usually do, but on the good news, it's an excellent sign for our lake. I don't know that there's anything we can do. I'm sure if we tried to do something, it would hurt the little duckies and the bass, and I think the fishermen would have a problem with that. So that's the 2 things I did want to mention.
My vision of those leeches are the African queen.
They're not that big, they're tiny, tiny.
Okay, I'm just going to announce 3 things that we did this month. We went to the CNR&R, Larry Green and I, and that was a very interesting visit, and learned a lot of new things. We went to the WR Clog. Jordan was there, and Vicki was there, and it was the former Secretary of Defense, who was the first 6-year Secretary of Defense over 2 presidents, which is unprecedented before. Usually when the new president, they get a new Secretary of Defense in almost every council, or cabinet. But they kept Gates, and he did a really incredibly good job. And then finally, Sue, my wife, and I, we went to Paws and Partners, which is the animals of Friends of the Valley, and they had a reception, and that's where I met Neil, and I was very impressed. They had a very nice presentation, and there's also a new develop lady.
Right, to help with the funding.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the next, I'm sorry? No, that's in, this is June. I'll do that in July. The next regular council meeting is scheduled for August 2nd, 5:30 for the closed session and 6:30 for the open session. I'd just like to make one final comment. I'd like to compliment and thank the council member. Every vote was 5-0, and we moved right along, and we couldn't do a better job of working together as a team. So thank you very much, and you make all our lives a lot easier that way. So that said, we're going to adjourn at 8:15. And Dawn, I want to tell you one thing before you leave.